Welcome to the 10-minute alchemy journey. We are here to transform the very fire that burns you. This is not about managing your emotions, it is about mastering your relationship to them. We're going to take the raw, intense energy of anger and the deep stickiness of resentment, and we're going to turn it into pure, focused power. This sacred practice is your path to true emotional sovereignty. So let's begin by facing the fire directly. Why am I still so angry? I mean, look within and ask yourself this big question. Why am I still so angry? You've done the work, you've read the books, and you've tried to release them in the past. But the truth is that the anger that you have is still there, the resentment is still burning in your belly. It doesn't matter how many courses or webinars you sign up for, it just doesn't seem to dissipate. Now, this is not a failure of your spirit. It is a misunderstanding of the energy itself, because we have been taught to forgive and forget, but that often means bypassing the truth of the wound. That suppressed fire, it doesn't disappear, it simply turns inward and keeps you small. So, if suppression doesn't work, what is the truth about this wonderfully powerful emotion of anger? Well, the truth is simple and profound. And that is that anger is not the problem. Suppressed anger is. Feel that in your body. Feel that statement. Because resentment is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of unexpressed power that is being held hostage. When you try to push anger down, it becomes toxic and it poisons your system and it drains you of your life force. But when you consciously engage with that fire, when you alchemize it, it becomes the purest fuel for transformation. So unbelievably powerful. And this is the core principle of our work together here in this video. But what exactly does it mean to alchemize an emotion? You may be familiar with that from my other videos, you may not be. So let's take a look a bit deeper into that. Emotional alchemy is the sacred art of transformation. It is taking the raw material of so-called negative emotions and consciously transmuting them into power, clarity, and wisdom. Now, this is not about spiritual bypassing, where you slap a positive label on a painful feeling and you sit there and you pretend it's gone. No. Alchemy is about feeling it fully, integrating the lesson, and intentionally transmuting the energy, changing it from one to another. We're not fixing the emotion, we are using it as a catalyst. But without this practice, as many people around the world will attest to, that raw emotion keeps you trapped in a very, very painful and difficult to escape cycle. And this is the loop. It is how unalchemized anger keeps you stuck. And it starts with a trigger and the fire that ignites in your gut. So you feel this, something happens, you're switched on. Then you move straight to suppression. You tell yourself that you should not feel this way, which just builds this inner sense of resentment. Eventually, the pressure is too much, and you either explode outward or you shut down completely. Now, this is the moment that we do things which ultimately result in us judging ourselves further and compounding the pain of this issue. And the difficulty of that here, the difficulty of that piece, and it really upsets me to even say it, it's like shame is nothing more than a divine being hating itself. It's just, it doesn't serve anybody. So we get triggered, fire ignites, the anger comes in, we push it down, we suppress it, we turn our heads. We do that over such a period of time that eventually it pops. And its popping either looks like we're just completely withdrawn and removing ourselves and hiding from life, total shutdown, or we just explode into somebody. Either way, we're causing damage, and then the judgment, the guilt, and the shame that comes up, and then we come back to suppression. It's a vicious cycle, and it's a savage cycle. But we can break this cycle if we so choose to. So we've seen how the unexamined emotion of anger traps us in a loop of reaction and pain. But now we want to break that cycle, and we want to use a powerful yet practical tool to do so. And this is the 10-minute alchemy ritual. It is your sacred map for transforming fire into fuel. And it's a four-step process that moves you from raw emotion into a rooted sense of power in just 10 minutes. Now, I'll go through the steps in detail as we walk through, but just a brief intro now. We start by sitting with the raw energy. Then we use breath to move it through the body. Next, we locate the core wound that the anger is protecting. And finally, we transmute that energy into focused, intentional power. Now, this process is not about managing anger. It is about mastering the energy that anger contains. I'll say that again. This is not about managing anger. It is about mastering and harnessing the energy that anger contains. So let's dive in to the first and arguably the most crucial step. That's sitting with the fire, sitting with the anger. And the first step is the hardest because it asks you to do the opposite of what you've been conditioned to do. But how do you do this? Well, for 2 minutes, you must simply sit with the feeling of anger. Do not try to push it down and suppress it. Do not try to justify it. And absolutely do not act on it. Your only job here is to become a witness to the sensation in your body. That is all. Where does the fire live? Is it a tight knot in your stomach? Is it a burning in your chest? Is it a clenching of your jaw? Name the feeling out loud or in your mind to really, really get that label on it. I am feeling anger. I am feeling resentment. Now, this act of naming and this act of locating is the first step of true mastery. It creates a distance between us and the emotion. It allows us to see that we are not the emotion. We are just in reaction to the emotion right now. But now we've located the fire. Now we can begin to move it with the breath. And we use sacred breath to become the alchemist here. So, step two, now that you've located the anger, you're going to spend 3 minutes. And for this 3 minutes, you're going to breathe directly into the area, where the anger is held. Now you're going to inhale deeply. And you are going to send the breath like a healing light right into that tight knot or that burning sensation or wherever the anger was living. And as you're sending it there and as you exhale, you're consciously gonna see that tension release, and any story that was attached to that anger, you're going to visualize that leaving. And as you're doing this, you're bringing that inhalation. As you're inhaling, you're seeing that light go to the part of your body where the anger was held. And then as you exhale, you're going to let it go. And the inhale, sending the light to heal the space. Exhale, letting go whatever's been letting go of. Back and forth, back and forth. Because you're breathing into the fire and you are letting it burn the situation clean, we could say. You're not trying to push the feeling away from you. You are using your breath to circulate the energy and prevent it from becoming stagnant and toxic. That's what's happening here. They're the mechanics. And the breath really is the key that unlocks the body's wisdom. So as you're doing this and you're taking a few minutes to go through this process, you will start to notice the energy begins to shift. And this means that we can move a bit deeper to find the source. And in doing so, we can start to locate the root wound. Because at this point, the body should now be open. The energy should be moving around, which allows us to access the deeper truth. So for 2 minutes, we're going to play the game of locating the root wound. We start by asking ourselves, what is this anger really about? What's it really about? And go deeper still. When did I first feel powerless like this? Now we know that anger is always a protector of a deeper, more vulnerable feeling, usually a core belief about our unworthiness or our powerlessness. So what we're looking to do is we are looking in step 3 to acknowledge the wound beneath the anger. And if we're able to do that, and it may take a few practices at getting in, depending on how well we have it buried. But if we're able to do that, this becomes the moment of profound realization where you see the pattern. It's just inescapable to you that this isn't me. This is a pattern. Why have I been running this for so long? Oh my gosh, I can choose to not run it anymore. And you realize that the current situation is simply triggering an old unhealed story. That's it. And this might be uncomfortable again. But I guarantee you this short-term discomfort is going to be a lot less than the long-term discomfort of not actually addressing this in your own life. So now that we've located the wound in step 3, now we perform the sacred alchemy, transmuting into power. Now this is where the fire of your anger becomes the fuel for your transformation. And this is really begins by declaring your sovereignty over the pain and say it out loud. I reclaim my power from this wound. As simple as that. I reclaim my power from this wound. Then you rewrite the story. The old belief that held you captive is then replaced with a new truth, something which makes your heart sing, a truth of strength, a truth of resilience. And as you consciously choose to take your attention from where it has been stuck and put it onto something, you reclaim the power, you make that conscious choice, you use your free will to tell your system, okay, we're ready to let go of that now. And as you do so, you will feel the anger in your body shift. It's no longer a destructive force at that point. It is pure, focused clarity and resolve. You embody this new power and you channel that energy into aligned action. And connecting with that, putting down that baggage. You start doing that, it's the moment that you rise from the ashes. It's the moment you step beyond these limitations. And this process seems unbelievably simple, and it is. Because we seem to absolutely love complicating this journey to enlightenment, but it really doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that complex. We don't have to spend tens of thousands and hundreds of hours with experts, gurus, and guides. We just don't have to. This is a very simple mechanism to run compared to what people think it is. Of course, it's the most magnificently complex machine creation that we can see. Doesn't mean it's not simple to run for a divine being like you. So let's step into this. Let's make this what we're doing. So when do you actually use this powerful 4-step ritual? When would you use it? Well, you use it in the moment that you feel that familiar heat of anger rising up into your chest again. Instead of reacting unconsciously, you respond consciously. You use the steps that we've just covered. You go through the process. You may use it when resentment has been building for days or weeks, when there's just that big build, it's getting more, and it's starting to create a heavy, stagnant energy within you, and you're finished with it. This is also a powerful tool when you just generally feel powerless, when you're slipping into that victim state, and it feels like, well, it feels like the world seems to be happening to you. Because this process is how you reclaim your energy and your agency. And most importantly, the most important time to use it is you use it when you find yourself stuck in the loop. That cycle of pain and reaction that keeps you small and suffering. This is your key to breaking free. And this entire video has been about reframing our relationship with the emotion of anger. Like, it's just something that we're not trained how to use. That's it. That's it. But when you have direct experience of what I've talked to you about today, and when you start playing the emotional alchemy game, then all of a sudden you think, wow, every moment that I get a bit of anger or I get triggered, let's say I get triggered. Firstly, triggering is a gift and being triggered is a choice because we wouldn't be feeling the sensation of triggering unless it was, the experience we're having, the occurrence that we're experiencing is not pushing on something, an unhealed wound within us. So triggering is a wonderful signpost in if we are courageous enough to follow that look. But also, if if that triggering moment makes you angry temporarily, but you understand emotional alchemy, there is no situation where you falling into a low level emotion cannot be turned into a benefit. There is no situation where you can't take that and turn a pig's ear into a silk purse. This is kind of like an energetic mastery in when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Fantastic. If life gives me triggers, I'm going to make anger superpower juice. And that's that. And I think the key here, the big, big, big key to all of this is that anger is not your enemy, it is your teacher. And it's pointing directly to where your boundaries have been crossed or your truth has been suppressed. I mean, what a great signpost to have. And resentment is not your weakness. Resentment is your unexpressed power, waiting to be consciously claimed and channeled. So if you're feeling that resentment to anything, it's not your weakness, it's your unexpressed power. There's an engine inside you waiting to be sparked up. You are not a victim of your emotions. You are the alchemist. You hold the sacred fire, and you have the power to transform lead into gold, pain into purpose, and anger into pure, focused power. Go forth and transmute.